Wall Street reform for the Congressional Black Caucus. Currently, the Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, is chaired by the Honorable Barbara Lee from the 9th Congressional District of California. Mr. Speaker, I now yield to our chair, the Honorable Barbara Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank Congresswoman Fudge for once again being on the mark in terms of the special order tonight. She's taken the leadership on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus to really bring the message of the Congressional Black Caucus to the country. Tonight, Congresswoman Fudge will be talking about the urgent need to enact regulatory reform of America's financial markets. So thank you for your leadership. I know your district is going to benefit tremendously from this. Oftentimes we forget that regulatory reform also has a direct impact on the huge foreclosure crisis that I know your district is facing. And so thank you again for your leadership. Let me just thank, first of all members who were on that Financial Services Committee for such a major effort to take this important step in protecting Americans from another financial crisis. While many provisions in the bill could be much stronger, I believe that H.R. 4713 is a critical step forward in bringing some reasonable regulations and oversight back to an out-of-control financial services sector. I actually was on the Banking Committee during much of the deregulation process and could not support it then, and unfortunately what those of us on the committee saw happening and said would happen has happened. But now this important legislation will finally make our banks and financial services institutions much more transparent, put consumer rights before corporate profits, and allow shareholders more of a say on skyrocketing CEO pay packages. While I would have preferred a standalone consumer financial protection agency, this bill will create an independent agency that remains independent and puts consumers first. I am pleased that more transparency on CEO pay is included in these reforms. While I might have preferred some reasonable constraints, like my bill that would limit tax deductibility of executive pay, allowing shareholders to have a say on pay is a good step forward. I remain concerned that rules on risky derivatives trading, limits on proprietary trading by our biggest banks, and controls over the operations of ratings agencies may not be strong enough to prevent continued risk to our markets and taxpayers. I had hoped that more could be done to ensure that banks pay for their failures. But I know that we must pass these reforms, and we must pass them now. So I hope that my colleagues across the aisle will join us in the effort to protect consumers, shareholders, and the open and honest functioning of the financial markets that are so critical to our continued prosperity. I hope that we have all come to understand how ridiculous it is to claim that the markets can regulate themselves, and that we can agree that the government has a critical role in ensuring that our financial services sector functions fairly, with transparency, and allows equal opportunity for all Americans. I look forward to working with the regulators as they begin to implement these new protections for investors and consumers. I hope that we can work together to make sure that we are never again held hostage to out-of-control greed on Wall Street and regulators who really were asleep at the switch. Thank you again. Thank you, Congresswoman Fudge, for your leadership.